What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to talk about the best supplements for libido for men, right? And also sexual performance. This is something that, it's like this topic that no guys want to talk about, and everyone's like, oh, I don't have a problem with that. And I never have that problem with libido or anything like that. And of course, I've never had this problem. This is all just theory and conjecture, but from my research, third party, of course, I can tell you what I have deemed to be the best supplements for libido for men. There are not a lot of them, but the ones that I know about are very effective, and I think that if you are having issues, I think it is worth looking into because they're cheap, they're easily accessible, and they do the job. So to be fair, first of all, make sure your diet is in order, right? Make sure you're eating lots of meat. Make sure you're doing your cardio to help with circulation. Make sure you're eating your garlic, right? All these things to enhance circulation, right? Make sure you are getting enough sleep. Make sure your health is on point before you start these things, right? Now, if you are still having some sort of issue with that, what I would recommend, your first stop should be Yohimbe. Right? Actually, you know what? Before we get into the supplements, the first thing that I want to say is that the first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure you are with a girl that you find attractive, okay? Before anything else, you need to make sure that the girl you are with fucking revs your motor. You know what I'm saying? Don't expect to be with a girl who doesn't necessarily turn you on sexually and be able to have a fun sexual experience with her if looking at her naked doesn't really do it for you. I hate to say it, as men, we have there's this expectation for us to be able to fuck anything at any time. Not really the case, really. There are things called there are preferences. We all have a different preference for what we like. There does need to be some kind of emotional connection there, the smallest little one possible. But most importantly, there needs to be physical attraction, right? You need to, when you look at the girl, you need to have that desire to have sex with her. And it doesn't always necessarily need to be from physical attraction. It can be from fucking emotions and love and all that shit too. But in my experience, and I'm not saying one trumps the other, but if you are with a girl and she is your type physically, you're not going to have any problems at all, right? So that's number one, right? So if you're with a girl who's like that, then all of these things that I'm about to tell you are only going to make everything better, right? But if you're with a girl, maybe she's gained some weight, maybe she's not your body type, maybe, she smokes fucking cigarettes all the time, which I personally find disgusting. Maybe she has some habit that just kind of grosses you out and you're turned off, but you still want to have sex with her. It's complicated, and you could be like, well, why would you want to do that if she does something you don't like? It is what it is, right? So anyway, let's get down to business. The first one that I would recommend that you take is Yohimbe. Yohimbe. It is cheap. It is $7 for a bottle. You will have to try really hard to take a whole fucking bottle in a year. Let me tell you, I have a bottle right here. It's been sitting there for a very long time. I barely cracked a quarter of it because every time I take it, what I do is I take a pill, take a little capsule, break it open, pour a tiny little speck of dust into my hand and lick it off my hand. And that's enough for me for several hours. So what does Yohimbe do? It does a lot of stuff, right? So it's also a fat burner. It's also a diuretic. It also is a fucking stimulant. Gets you it's great for working out. They put it in a lot of pre-workout stuff. It's in a lot of these over-the-counter sexual aids as well that you can buy in a gas station. But what it does is it increases blood flow to your extremities, right? So increases blood flow to, your dick, makes it fill up with more blood, but it is the one supplement that I have found to actually increase sexual desire, right? So things like Viagra, things like Cialis, those are good too. But the problem with that is that, like I mentioned earlier, if you're with a girl that you don't really like and you're not attracted to her, and you pop a Viagra, it might not work, right? Like, yeah, sure, it's still, what are they called? PDE5 inhibitors, right? Which is, I forget what it is, but it's something that inhibits vasoconstriction. So it's a vasodilator. Basically, it makes your blood vessels relax, kind of. And when your blood vessels are relaxed, it's easier for your blood to flow and to circulate, which is why Viagra and Cialis, those things were originally developed as blood pressure medicine. But Yohimbe, on the other hand, is definitely not blood pressure medicine. If anything, it will increase your blood pressure. It will increase your resting heart rate and your overall heart rate. So keep that in mind if you have a heart condition. But what it will do is it will make you really fucking horny. Like, that shit will fucking make you be in the mood. You might lower your standards also a little bit with that. So something to keep in mind. That would definitely be my first stop on the, if you want to go the pill or powder route. It's very cheap. You guys can buy it on Amazon. I don't know how this shit is still legal, to be honest with you, to the point where, like, if you took 2, you would probably die. Or you would feel like you're about to die. Like, you take 1 and you're like holding on white knuckle, for the ride of your life. 2, I don't know. If I took 2, I think my heart would explode. So anyway, use it with caution. Make sure that you only do it the way that I mentioned, where you break open the capsule, sprinkle a very tiny little bit in your hand, and then just lick it off your hand. I would not take a whole pill. I would not take Yohimbe either, which is the extract. I would take Yohimbe because it's easier to control your dose, increase or decrease as you want. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to talk about is the basic ones that you've all heard of, right? Viagra, Cialis. So it's, what is it? It's tadalafil or tadalafil, I think. And Viagra is shit. I don't remember the chemical name for it. But anyway, these are like the basic ones. Now, I've taken both of these and they work, but there are some side effects to them that I don't really like, that makes me very cautious about actually using them. So the first one, let's talk about Viagra first. I've taken Viagra a fair amount of times, from doses down to 25 up to 100 milligrams. I have a very sensitive system, so I don't like to, I prefer to take less if possible, because I know I'm going to react very strongly to it regardless of what it is. I usually take everything on an empty stomach, so that's probably part of it. I'm also, I think that's really what it is. I usually have an empty body, I guess. So my body does not have to, there's no competition for absorption with whatever I take. So I tend to feel whatever I'm taking a lot. I don't have a high tolerance for anything, really, which is good and bad. But anyway, with Viagra, I've noticed that, your dick will get hard for sure, but it does not increase libido. And I always get this kind of like flu-like symptoms the next day, right? Sometimes I'll get a headache. Sometimes I'll even get a headache that day. Very oftentimes I'll get a headache the next day, and I never get headaches, but I just get this, like, it feels like somebody like took a balloon and like put it in my head and inflated it. And now there's no room in my head for my brain. If that makes sense. I know that sounds weird, but I just have this like weird headache that I don't really like. It will get the job done, but like I said, it does not increase libido. So if you're with a girl who you don't necessarily find attractive, it might not work, which is something to keep in mind. So in cases like that, Yohimbe is the way to go, or you could even mix the two of them, which I have done. You would think that would be bad, but as long as you keep the dose low enough, it will be okay, because you have the Viagra or Cialis, for example, to basically get your dick hard, and then you have the Yohimbe to also increase blood flow, but to increase the actual desire aspect of it as well. Okay, Cialis is another good one. So basically the difference between Viagra and Cialis is that Viagra is good for like 3 hours and Cialis is supposed to be good for up to 48 hours. The thing with Cialis is that the pills that I have tried before, I've never taken less than 10 milligrams of Cialis. And actually that's not true. I've taken 5 milligrams. I take that back. One of the side effects that I don't like with Cialis is that I find myself running out of breath. So I don't know. I just don't like that, where I'm like short of breath for doing nothing. I remember one time when I was doing one of these photo shoots in Vegas, I was doing this like lingerie shoot with a girl, and I had this idea in my head. This is really weird. I don't even know I'm telling you this, but anyway, I was doing this lingerie shoot with a girl, and I had it in my head that I was like, okay, if I do the shoot and I'm like sexually aroused, I will take better pictures, right? The pictures will come out better because I'll have a better eye for what actually looks good. And this was the case during the shoot. It was probably one of the best shoots I've ever done. But what ended up happening is that I was like getting out of breath a lot. And when you take pictures, right? When you take pictures with an actual camera, it's a lot like shooting a gun. And when you shoot a gun, in order to make sure that that your aim is correct, you have to either hold your breath at the top or you hold your breath at the bottom, preferably at the bottom. So what I was having to do is I would exhale all of the air out of my lungs, and I would hold the camera like this, and I would shoot some pictures like this, and I would be so out of breath by the time I was done, much more than if I hadn't taken the Cialis. Pictures came out great, but that's something to keep in mind. Cialis is also prescribed, well, maybe not prescribed as a blood pressure medication, but I know a lot of guys who are on TRT or who do steroid cycles will take Cialis regularly, regardless of if they have any sort of sexual issues, because it's good for blood pressure. And I read also that it is good for prostate enlargement. So I'm not sure about the whole prostate thing. I have not looked into that, but for what it's worth, that is what I've heard. The third one that I guess I will mention would be, I guess you can try TRT and DHEA. In my experience, TRT is good for your libido as well. So again, a lot of it depends on the girl that you're with. Like, I've been with girls who I wanted to have sex with them fucking 5 times a day. And I've been with girls who like once every couple days is enough for me. I really do believe that a lot of it has to do with the actual girl that you're with and how sexually attracted you are to her. That said, all other things being equal, I have found that since doing TRT, I get the kind of like unbearable desire for sex, let's just call it, every other day, all other things being equal. Sometimes it's more than that, sometimes it's less, right? And this is assuming that you're doing like no FAP, right? And usually with no FAP, it takes me at least more than a few days to get to that point. I don't think that I have like a low libido. Maybe to some of you are like, oh, I jerk off 20 times a day. That's nothing for me. But keep in mind that I have like conditioned myself to go very long periods of time while kind of dampening that desire for the health benefits. So your mileage may vary. For you, you might start TRT and you might become a fucking freak of nature and like, never get any work done. But that's just been my experience. Okay, and then I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I think, so from the supplement side of things, it's really just Yohimbe, Viagra and Cialis, and testosterone replacement therapy. Some people recommend stuff like zinc or stuff like maca. I've never really experienced anything, libido-wise from those. I did know, I guess it's important to mention Long Jack as well, or what's it called? Long Jack, or I forget the actual name for it, but Tonkat Ali, which is a very bitter herb, which also helps to, I think it's like a boner pill, basically. It's okay. It tastes like shit, and it's also diuretic, so you'll be fucking pissing every hour. Not my first choice, but if you want to go the natural route and you don't like the side effects of Yohimbe, you don't like the side effects of Viagra and Cialis, and you don't want to start TRT, then that is a very good choice from my point of view. Okay, so those are my tips on the best supplements for libido for men. What do you guys think about that? Have you tried any of these? Do you have any experiences with these? Have you found something else that works for you that is better for this? What about ladies? What do you have that actually works? Anybody out there, any ladies have a pill or something that you've tried that works? Do you guys have any other suggestions for types of videos that you want me to make? Let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace.